Lisa Kay from Gwinnett Technical College in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and I'm here in the closing hours of the Atlanta Photojournalism Seminar at the Perimeter Marriott. And I have with me Dave LaBelle from California.
Howdy.
And we had the privilege of sitting in on a couple of his seminars this weekend. He did one on special features, finding the feature, and giving a voice to the homeless people. And right now I'd just like to, this is Dave, and this is his son Tucker, and he's quite the entrepreneur. And I bought some of his books, and he autographed them for me, and he's just been a pleasure to get to know he and his family.
So have you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Dave, tell us a little bit about your philosophy and about the way that you go about shooting.
I think I might be a little abnormal compared to most of the photojournalists today in that I believe that showing good does more good than showing evil. I think that life is a balance, and as I said, we're flesh and we're spirit, so it's obvious that we're not supposed to just pay attention to one side or the other. And to translate that into photojournalism, I think what I try to subscribe to the philosophy, if we call it philosophy, the belief that I think the Apostle Paul taught in Philippians when he said, if you want to have a good frame of mind, if you want to be positive, then fill your head with good things. And then he said, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if you'll think on these things, it will help your mental health. And I believe that. I think if we show people the things that are good in our life and we celebrate the things that are good, I think that will encourage them to do good. At least that's the platform that I operate on, and I don't think I'm going to get pushed off it. I happen to believe that there's a lot of good in seeing good.
I totally agree with that, and I love that philosophy and the fact that the images that you shoot carry that philosophy through, and you do bring laughter too. That was another thing that you pointed out in your speeches or your talks. Tell me about how you see laughter.
Well, I think laughter is an important gift to us. I remember reading about Abraham Lincoln. In some of his darkest days, he would still be able to tell jokes. And I think if I remember right, somebody called him on it one time, and they said, "Well, Mr. Lincoln, there's all these people are dying and stuff. We're in a terrible civil war," and he sort of basically was chiding him, just saying, "How dare you make a joke at a time like this?" And if I understand it correctly, the response was, you don't see me when I'm on my knees praying. You don't see me when I'm grieving like this. And he said that, I have to find some place to find some peace. And I think laughter has been given to us. And, as I said, Reader's Digest used to have a column called "Laughter is the Best Medicine." And it is. So some people think it's a contradiction in what I do. I look to both ends. I love looking at humor. I like laughing at myself. I like laughing at, I just think that life is full of joy. But it's also very serious too, and if you read very far, you know that in the book of Ecclesiastes, he said, "For everything there's a season, and there's a time to every purpose." Basically, there's a time to laugh and there's a time to cry, and both of those components kind of go into making up who we are.
Totally agree, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about your passionate project, the homeless people.
Well, it's a way I think that I can reach out and do something. I think a lot of people feel very frustrated by not being able to do more to help people that are hurting. And we have great examples of people that again, the Bible's full of great examples of. We should all look at what sometimes we call. I'm trying to think of the best example that people would ask Jesus, who is my neighbor and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave them an example of who was my neighbor. There was a man on the road there. He says that he ended up being helped by those that were not even of his kind. And when I look about me, I see people all the time they're hurting, they're suffering, they've lost their jobs, they've been divorced, and I know a lot of people that say, well, they deserve to be there. They're drug addicts, or they had a job and they lost it, or they didn't have a good, and they're so hard-hearted. Again, I don't want to make this sound like a sermon, but I'm trying to live my life by the principles that God has taught me. And when I look at Jesus, and I remember one of the great sayings when he says that, at one point he talked to the Pharisees, and he says, "I want you to go learn what this means. Go learn. I will have mercy and not sacrifice. And I think a lot of people that think they're very religious, they go to church X amount of times, they lay money aside X amount of times, and it's basically sort of it's almost a methodical, mechanical process, and it's a process that is void of mercy. When I look at people, I don't care how they got there. I don't care. I'm sorry they went through a divorce. I'm sorry they lost their job. I'm sorry they made bad decisions. But I had better have enough mercy to understand that. I'd better look at them and realize that, I am so imperfect and God has forgiven me of so many things that I had better try to adopt that same attitude toward other human beings. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I try to do it in every aspect of my life, and particularly with the gift of photography. I feel like that I've been blessed with a talent, and I try to use that. We're going to use whatever talents we have to glorify God. It's certainly not a new philosophy, but it's one we try to subscribe to.
I think sometimes we forget, but for the grace of God, go we.
That's absolutely true.
So where are you headed from here?
I don't know.
What's your next big
I know.
project?
Well, Sunday evening I'm going to, or Monday morning, early Monday morning, I'll be going to Singapore for 14 days. And, Lord willing, I come back from that, we'll make a decision where we're going to go next. We don't know whether we're going back to California, whether we're going to go to Tennessee. I think basically, it sounds simplistic, but my goal is to glorify God, is to use the gifts that I have, and use the skills I have in writing and speaking and the photo skills. And you know what? I have a lot of confidence. God has always blessed me. You know what? He makes a promise that for those that love Him, that He will provide, and He has always provided, and He will provide. So I don't worry about it.
Did you have something to say?
Yes,
yeah.
jump
Dad,
in.
actually, we're going back to California in June, I think.
Good. Well, we hope we're going back to California in June.
I'm
That's
just visiting
right.
at least, and I guess you're going to go speak there next morning.
Yeah.
Ah. Do you have another project that you're working on right now?
I have a lot of projects. I've got several books. I have a novel that I've written that I need to have edited. I've got a couple chapters to finish, and it's I hope that if I ever get that done, I have a children's book that I wrote for the kids one year for a Christmas present that hasn't been edited, and there's other books that I hope I get done. I continue to write I do how-to photo columns. I write.
Okay.
I do a lot of photo seminars. There's just the problem is I feel like life is a big smorgasbord, and I just don't know what to eat first. I have just too many things that are too delicious and too appealing. The problem is saying no to a lot of things. It's not saying yes to them.
Well, I'm just thrilled that you have so many options available to you, and I wish you the
Thank you.
best of luck in whatever decisions you make in the future, and may God go with you.
Thank you, Penny.
Yeah, you too.